My name is Tyler, the host of the Crypto channel. It's time for Chico Crypto. And away she goes! BTC has done it and broken through the resistance many thought wasn't possible, 12K. And as of yesterday, we were staying above it. And like I mentioned over this weekend's live stream, in which I thought the price would pump above 12K, this is seriously unknown territory for the Bitcoin price. Shoot, even being above 10K is fairly unknown. What do I mean? Well, over the past 3 years, BTC hasn't spent much time above 10K. November 28, 2017, we broke 10K and push up to 20K, but then fall back under by January 31st, 2018, a total of 65 days above 10K. Then we broke 10K for a tad bit of time between February 2018 and March, a total of 22 days to be exact. Finally, we broke 10K again on June 20th, 2019, and basically stayed above it until September 20th of the same year, a total of 92 days above 10K. And finally, the most recent one, which we're in right now, and it began on July 27th, which means we have a total of 22 days right now above 10K since then. Adding all the days together, we have basically stayed 6.5 months, just over half a year, over the past 3 years above 10K. That is just 18% of the time. That means there is a chance for bullish price discovery as a flurry of shorts get absolutely blown through. Let me try to explain. Now, people understand this is unknown territory, and if the past has told us anything, shorting when we get into this unknown territory can be very profitable. So, pulling out the 3-year price chart again, when we fell under 10K in January 2018, the price immediately dipped into the 6K range, rebounded, but eventually fell into the 3K range. Shorters, they made out like bandits then. Then we broke 10K again in June of 2019, and by March of 2020, the price had fallen to the 5K range. Shorters once again made out pretty damn well during that time. So now that we have once again crossed the critical mark, there are shorters who have been around this whole time who could foresee it happening again. Thus, in my personal opinion, there is a lot more money for the exchanges to be made in the short term on the way up than on the way down, wrecking the bearish whales who think the past is an indicator of the future. And I personally don't see too many people putting in too many longs when this is unknown territory and it's staring them right in the face. That's just my opinion. Who knows what these markets could do in the short term, but the long-term bullish case for Bitcoin is being written like a storybook before our eyes. This case is Bitcoin's verifiable, immutable, and ever-shrinking supply of coins. There's a Bitcoin shortage if you didn't know, and it's only going to get more apparent as the clock goes tick-tock, tick-tock. So let's talk about the Bitcoin supply. It's a controlled supply system using computer code and the peer-to-peer network of Bitcoin nodes and miners. The Bitcoin generation algorithm defines in advance how the currency will be created and at what rate. Any currency that is generated by a malicious user that does not follow the rules will be rejected by the network and thus is worthless. That's basically how it works. And as we know, the 21 million BTC supply hard cap is coded into the Bitcoin protocol. That is the max supply that will ever be created. And the release of these coins is following a halving schedule, where about every 4 years the total amount issued per year is cut right in half. That scarcity is a feature of Bitcoin, not a bug like some would lead you to believe. Satoshi created BTC as he anticipated it just might replace the traditional money supply. In an email with former BTC core dev Mike Hearn, Satoshi semi-explained the reason for the 21 million hard cap. He said this: "My choice for the number of coins and distribution schedule was an educated guess. I wanted to pick something that would make prices similar to existing currencies, but without knowing the future, that's very hard. I ended up picking something in the middle. If Bitcoin remains a small niche, it'll be worth less per unit than existing currencies. If you imagine it being used for some fraction of world commerce, then there's only going to be 21 million coins for the whole world, so it'd be worth much more per unit." And he goes on to compare this with a euro example. Satoshi, who was kind of predicting and anticipating Bitcoin being where it is today, being used for some fraction of world commerce. And Satoshi said regarding this, if it happened, then there's only going to be 21 million coins for the whole world. That is the key word. Only 21 million coins for the whole world. And it's actually going to be less than that. It is estimated between 2.5 million to over 3.5 million BTC are lost forever. So you can take that down to a max of 18.5 million coins. Which, if you didn't realize where we are on the emission schedule, that is about how many coins are actually in circulation right now, or have been emitted, about 18.5 million. So we're already at the max, 18.5 million. And guess how many millionaires there are in this world? Estimates by the 29 Global Wealth Report put it around 47 million people, millionaires. They are the top of the global wealth pyramid, just 0.9% of the population, which owns 43.9% of the global wealth. Now, if every single one of these pyramid toppers wanted some Bitcoin, you would need to divide 18.5 million by 47 million. And that gives you a total for each millionaire just 0.39 of a BTC. And these millionaires own a diverse range of assets, stocks, real estate, companies, and many precious metals as a hedge. Why wouldn't they want Bitcoin as it surges back into the spotlight and deeper into mainstream thought? And I've always held this thought, even when I first got into the industry. The limited supply and number of millionaires alone could push BTC to limits we only dreamed of, as having a whole BTC could become a power symbol of sorts for millionaires in the future. And that millionaire tide of opinion is turning on Bitcoin. I'm sure you heard last week, MicroStrategy was adopting BTC as their primary reserve asset by purchasing over 21,000 Bitcoin for a price of $250 million. You know who MicroStrategy's founder and CEO is? Multi-millionaire Michael Saylor. And guess what Mike tweeted in 2013? Bitcoin's days are numbered. It seems like just a matter of time before it suffers the same fate as online gambling. Then, just 7 years later, you tweet, MicroStrategy adopts Bitcoin as primary treasury reserve asset. But it isn't only the millionaires, there are billionaires too, over 2,100 of them worldwide according to the most recent estimates. And this arena of people are the ones whose portfolios are majority made up of businesses and shares in companies. They have controlling seats, they are corporate governance heads, and the like. And these people always have a wide web of power and control. And when they start turning towards BTC, you know things are looking right. In May of this year, it was announced that famed hedge fund billionaire Paul Tudor Jones was buying Bitcoin as part of his portfolio to hedge against inflation. And he actually explained the move and how much of his portfolio is in BTC. Let's listen in now.
For a long time, you were a skeptic of Bitcoin and some cryptocurrencies, but you recently appear to have changed your mind about that. What happened?
The great monetary inflation happened, and that made me begin to think about how do you want to be positioned in your portfolio going forward. So that's really what tripped my interest in Bitcoin. And you have to realize, if you just think about, say, Bitcoin versus cash, right? Bitcoin, when I think of stores of value, I think of it four ways: purchasing power, trustworthiness, liquidity, and portability. That's kind of the categories I put it in. So when it comes to trustworthiness, Bitcoin's 11 years old. There's very little trust in it. We're watching the birthing of a store of value, and whether that succeeds or not, only time will tell. What I do know is that every day that goes by and Bitcoin survives, the trust in it will go up. If you take cash, on the other hand, and you think about it from a purchasing power standpoint, if you own cash in the world today, you know your central bank has an avowed goal of depreciating its value 2% per year. So you have, in essence, a wasting asset in your hands. So Bitcoin, I think it's a great speculation. I've got something between 1 and I think just over 1% of my assets in Bitcoin. Maybe it's almost 2. That seems like the right number right now.
Well, Tudor, you're worth $5.8 billion, and if you have 2%, that is $116 million of your wealth in BTC. And as we can see, while he was on CNBC's Squawk Box talking about it, BTC was at $9,128. With the growth recently to over $12,300, that is a 35% return. If Tudor did buy on that day, that would mean his bet on BTC would now be $157 million, pushing up in percentage in his portfolio. That's just one example of a billionaire who has gone the route of BTC. I'm sure you know of Kamat Palihapitiya, who has been vocal of his support for BTC across airwaves and being featured on many different Bitcoin-related podcast channels and talks. Now, like I said, these billionaires have influence across their web of control, and when they start turning the tide on BTC, so do their companies. Just like the multi-millionaire example of Michael Saylor and his company MicroStrategy. The millionaires and billionaires are coming to save their wealth, and we are going to have a Bitcoin shortage. Cheers, viewers. I'll see you next time.